Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a really fascinating strategic guide all about the UN Country Team Leadership course. Think of it kind of like learning to conduct a massive, world-class symphony orchestra, except, well, none of the musicians actually work for you. If you've ever wondered how large-scale, complex international coordination actually happens on the ground, we're going to map the whole thing out for you right now. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you lead a huge team of experts, totally diverse agencies, and international funds when you have absolutely zero formal authority to command them? Right? It's a crazy paradox, but that is the high-stakes reality of modern UN leadership. You aren't the boss in a traditional corporate sense, but you are still completely responsible for bringing everyone together to deliver these massive life-saving results. So to understand how these leaders actually pull this off, we've broken this explainer down into 5 quick parts. First up, the modern UN leadership shift. Then, leading without formal authority. Third, the 5 pillars of UN leadership. Fourth, driving real country results. And finally, framing your career narrative.
All right, Section 1, the modern UN leadership shift.
Look, I want to be absolutely clear right out of the gate. The old method of simply chairing a few meetings and rubber stamping approvals, yeah, that is officially dead. The entire strategic baseline has changed. The core purpose now is strengthening capacity for integrated action. You are navigating incredibly complex contexts entirely through influence, not mandates. Ultimately, this is about building your readiness for UN 2.0, which is a modernized United Nations that's agile, tech-savvy, and relies on hyper-collaboration across boundaries.
Moving right along to Section 2, leading without formal authority. Picture this. You're facing sudden climate shocks, unexpected political shifts, maybe an economic crisis, and you have to manage it all without a strict command structure to actually force agencies into action. In the past, leadership leaned way too hard on hierarchy and just reporting on activities. But today, UN 2.0 leadership is built on persuasion and deep, authentic trust. Real results happen because leaders create an environment where agencies genuinely want to collaborate. It's guided by shared analysis rather than just forced compliance.
There's a quote from the source material that perfectly captures this behavioral shift. It's about listening before directing, aligning before implementing, anticipating risks before they become crises. I mean, it's no longer about who speaks the loudest in the room. It is entirely about managing competing institutional mandates constructively so that everyone moves together toward a common goal.
Okay, Section 3, the 5 pillars of UN leadership. Knowing all these operational complexities, what is the actual methodology? Well, there are 5 foundational pillars that structure a leader's approach to mastering these multi-stakeholder challenges. They are systems leadership, coordination with purpose, adaptive judgment, partnership and influence, and ethical and inclusive leadership. Let's zoom in on 2 of the most critical ones, just to see how they actually function in the field.
First up is systems thinking. Before a leader even decides on a single intervention, they absolutely must map the entire landscape. Say a flood hits. They don't just send food. They map out the local institutions, the economic risks, the power dynamics. By understanding this whole system, leaders can identify the true vulnerabilities that connect humanitarian, development, and peace actors safely without stepping on anyone's toes or duplicating efforts.
Next is adaptive leadership. Think of this as your professional shock absorber. It's the ability to change your methods on the fly in a volatile environment, like say during a sudden economic collapse or a localized conflict, while fiercely preserving your core values, your strategic direction, and your accountability. And this brilliantly illustrates why adapting is so crucial. You might change the how, but you always fiercely protect the why. Which brings us to Section 4, driving real country results. Okay. Let's take this from high-level theory down to daily practice on the ground. This all translates into a really clear operational routine. Step 1, it starts with shared diagnostics, so everybody agrees on the root problem. That naturally leads to Step 2, clarifying roles so every single agency knows their exact lane. From there, it's about joint work planning to pool resources effectively, and finally, maintaining transparent monitoring and course correction. This is exactly how those lofty principles get ground down into actual measurable impacts.
The sources give us some really compelling show, don't tell scenarios of this in action. Modern UN leaders are out there engaging local civil society and empowering women-led organizations to build genuine, boots-on-the-ground legitimacy. At the same time, they're mobilizing huge development banks for funding and even using behavioral science to drive program uptake. I mean, it is a seriously sophisticated toolkit.
Finally, Section 5, framing your career narrative.
Let's make this personal. Imagine I'm your executive coach for a minute. When you sit down in an interview for a senior multilateral role, you literally cannot just list off your credentials anymore. You have to articulate a narrative of influence. You need to show that movement from having an insight to actual leadership behavior. Give them concrete examples of how you manage institutional tensions constructively instead of just avoiding them. Show how you ask better questions and how you use data responsibly to make big decisions. You've got to link what you've learned directly to hard evidence of your collaborative practice.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial thought to reflect on today. How will you translate your own senior experience into a coherent, modern multilateral leadership narrative? The blueprint is right there. The shift from formal authority to real influence is already happening, and now the tools are at your disposal. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep adapting, and I'll catch you next time.